you're sitting at a reception desk or you're sitting in your cubicle and you really want to make an impact or you want a different situation where you want to be a leader, you can lead from where you're at.
Join me in this conversation with Tiffany Bates as she did just that. Thanks. So welcome to this week's episode of Leadership Soundbites with Michelle and my super special guest, Tiffany Bates. So Tiffany is a day center supervisor with WelbeHealth, and I wasn't familiar with WelbeHealth before I met you. And they're a PACE program. So people aren't familiar, it's day center activities to keep seniors engaged.
That's
And
good.
it's awesome. I love it.
Mhm.
So Tiffany and I met, funny enough, through LinkedIn, but Tiffany's sister and I used to work together at Sutter Hill.
Yeah.
So I love the connections that reach out and create other connections.
Mhm.
So, and thank you for being a guest on the podcast and chatting. So the topic that we're kicking off with, because it's still around this theme of leadership lessons, but it's
Mhm.
your journey, right? And I was really inspired by the stuff that you talked about around your journey. And I know you have a quote to kick us off with. So I'm going to kick it
I
over
do.
to you and then we'll come back and chat.
Thank you, Michelle. Yes. So my quote that resonates with me is from Maya Angelou. It's do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, you do better. So simply put everything is a growing lesson and you take those lessons and you apply them and it just grows you. So that resonates with me and I keep that kind of on top of my list.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
I love that because what comes to mind for me, in all honesty, when I hear it, it's about giving ourselves grace, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yes.
in this world that we can compare ourselves to other people and other roles that we aspire to be, we're going to walk away going, I'm not there,
Right.
right? And another way the language we say to ourselves is, I'm not enough, I'm
Right.
not good enough, I'm not fill in the blank enough, right? I'm not.
Mhm. Mhm.
But the reality of it is you don't know what you don't know. And as
Mhm.
long as we set the aspiration to move in some direction,
Right.
then we're on that learning path to get
Right.
there.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. That's exactly what motivates me now is I used to compare myself, especially having a twin sister and just looking at other people that I've gone to college with. But really, I'm on my own journey.
Mhm.
I'm learning at a great pace, pushing myself in areas that I should, but really giving myself the freedom and the grace to know what I don't know and to
Yeah.
ask questions and be vulnerable enough to say, can you explain that? Can I get more information on that? And really that's through personal development and growth is to understand the areas where I may need to be stronger in and seek out the people that can help me be stronger in those areas, as well as the information, and not be too far ahead and thinking, I know it. And I really, need to understand that there's some things I still need to learn to
Yeah.
grow. Hmm.
So I hear you saying that. In my head, I'm thinking, okay, so that's classic textbook. If you were to
Hmm.
read it in a book and go, here's what you need to do, and someone, but but here's the here's the not so fun part of it, right? Because Tiffany, when I look at you and talking to you, that takes a lot of emotional intelligence, that takes a lot of awareness about who we are as we step into new challenges. So take me back
Hmm.
to the Tiffany
Yeah.
who wasn't so evolved and aware, and because that's a journey to get to where you're
Mhm.
at. And congratulations,
Yeah.
because
Thank
that
you.
takes courage
Yeah.
to go, I don't understand. I'm not tracking with you. Can you say that differently? I don't, versus the natural inclination we may have
Right.
is fake it till you make it.
Right.
Okay. Which
Hmm.
is, I'm not going to tell you I don't know how to do this. I'm just going to figure it out.
Right. Right. Yeah. No, so when I started my healthcare journey, career, I actually started as a medical receptionist at Sutter. My goal was to learn as much as possible. But being at the receptionist desk, I felt a little unseen, but maybe in my now thinking I was unactivated, my
Mm,
potential. And really it was from the inside. So probably about maybe 6 to 8 months in that role, I was learning a lot, learning who does what and what department does what. And I told myself, in order for me to be the change I want to see, I have to own it. So how do I own it? Being scared, being afraid, being timid. And I remember there was a leader there who would come and visit our department, and she would tell me, Tiffany, you're a light. I just love coming here because I see you. Every day, you're the first one smiling, you greet everyone, and you're always ready to serve. And I said, that is my brand, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I heard that many times after that, and it stayed with me even now. Um, and what really helped me develop my personal, I can do it and I need to learn, was one, seeing that other people saw what I naturally had, but
Mm-hmm.
also at the same time, really wanting to have the answers, right? If a patient were to ask me a question about a delay or a bill,
Uh-huh.
I would ask the question and go a little bit deeper to solve a problem for them. I was inspired by seeing other people when I go to other businesses and someone goes, I don't know, I don't, that doesn't help me, right? My
Mm-hmm.
goal was always to be helpful, to not only find areas to improve so that maybe patients don't have that same experience, but also to really give light to that light that that person saw in me,
Mm-hmm.
right? That light wasn't just a smiling face, it was help, right? It,
Yeah.
for me, it was like a beacon of, hey, someone is greeting me. Hey, that person can help me, and really filling in that gap. So um, long journey of really pushing myself in some areas to really know more, get uncomfortable, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a big thing for me. I'm a natural like introvert, but I can't learn anything by sitting at my seat, right? I can't learn anything staying home. I can't learn anything if I don't raise my hand and ask a question. And so every day I have a goal of get uncomfortable at least once.
Mm.
Get uncomfortable at least once. And sometimes it's multiple times a day. But
Yeah.
if you do it at least once, multiple times, like, oh, do I say this? And being a supervisor, I'm not a senior leader yet, but I realize that right now I'm building the blocks to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to get uncomfortable now because people count on me, patients
Mm-hmm.
count on me.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's something I always keep behind me is somebody's, like I work with seniors, someone's grandma deserves someone to ask that extra question, to
Mm-hmm.
push the extra mile.
Mm-hmm.
And so that really motivates me. It's not something that, like I said, it's not natural for me. I'm inside my head, don't say anything. Um, right? Put your hand down. But like I said, you can't push the needle. You can't wish for personal success or team success if we're all sitting on our hands. So I truly believe that raising my hand and asking questions and getting uncomfortable um, really helped me from reception to now. Mm.
So thank you for that. There's a number of points that come to mind for me, right? And it's so funny when I listen to you, I hear quotes of
Mhm.
famous people, right? Eleanor Roosevelt, right? Do something uncomfortable every day. You just basically step in and challenge yourself.
Mhm.
But I want to go back to what you said in the beginning when you started with the receptionist role,
Mhm.
is that you weren't activated.
Mhm.
So and I'm trying to think chicken egg, right? Is that you mentioned the person that came up to you and said, "Oh my gosh, you're such a light." What
Mhm.
happened first to Tiffany getting
Um,
activated, the person making the comment? I mean, what really, because it feels like there's a relationship there.
Yeah, I remember being at the front desk and watching all these leaders come in for meetings because the side of the building I worked on, we had a conference room. And I remember them walking and having these very intellectual conversations about patients and genuinely caring about their experience
Yeah.
and not worrisome about it, like, how can we do better? And those type of conversations interest me, right? It wasn't something like, oh, here they come again. It was really like, hey, here's how this patient experienced care here. Unacceptable. How do we do better? Hey,
Hmm.
I talked to Dr. Such and such. His access is X days. How do we make it better? And those type of conversations really inspired me because it made me feel like I had the power to do something,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, we call it in leadership as thought partnering. I love doing that, right? Where you
Yeah.
partner with someone and you have your perspective, they have theirs, and the goal is to improve a process.
Mm-hmm.
Um, for me, that's kind of my superpower is taking a process and seeing if we can make it better, even small increments of better.
Yeah.
Um, that's what inspired me at that desk. That light switch for me, like I can do that from my desk here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that lit a match. Once I started doing process improvement as a receptionist, and I had an awesome supervisor that let me do it. Can I
Yeah.
create the training? I was new. I wanted to create a training forum for the team, for new people.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, have at it. I'm like, oh. And little by little, every day, now that I know better, I grew upon that. And I started
Yeah.
asking myself, what else can I do?
Mm-hmm.
And really, it's the do part. What else can I do? It takes knowledge. It takes raising your hand. It takes getting
Mm-hmm.
uncomfortable, right? If I only stayed at the knowledge that I had as a receptionist, it really wouldn't help propel me to supervising a day floor where we're doing different processes and serving our seniors at multiple levels, right?
Mm-hmm.
So everything was kind of building on it. As I'm learning and doing more, I can do better. But
Mm-hmm.
like I said, the spark was lit back then at that desk where I felt unseen, but I could hear. I could hear people having these conversations that
You
inspired
cracked
me.
me up about this unseen, right? Because if you
Yeah.
think about it, you were literally the first face
Yeah.
that anyone
Yeah.
saw when they
Yeah.
came to your department. Okay. You were front and center, and yet you
Yeah.
felt unseen. Because I
Yeah.
think part of it too is this the story that we've got going in our heads about
That's
stuff.
true. You're so
Right.
right.
And in that moment, you are so critical because you're the first point of contact.
Yeah.
So you talk about employee experience or patient experience or anything
Mhm.
like that.
Mhm.
If you created a bad one for them, the odds of somebody being able to recover from that. So I
Yeah.
mean, you
You're
were
so
like
right.
one of the more important roles
Yeah.
in that
Yeah.
department, and yet the narrative you had going in your head, I'm
Mm.
sure, is I'm not as valuable as everyone else. I'm not,
Mm.
I'm basically wallpaper, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and it blows my mind when I'm hearing
Mm.
that because I'm like,
Mm.
you literally are the first line of defense.
Yeah.
If you're, I mean, in the first point of contact for anyone coming into that department.
Right. Yeah, I think when I say unseen, I think the thoughts like, oh, the things I'm hearing, I want to give my voice. And like I said, I had a really good supervisor that once I was bold enough to step out, like, hey, can I take a stab at that?
Yeah.
Then I was able to push myself forward. So I think ultimately others saw me before I saw me,
Yeah.
right? When someone said, "Hey, you're such a light. I'm like, this is my natural personality." Oh, this means something, right?
Yeah.
So on my inside, I'm thinking, I can improve that. I think I have an idea for that. But I would be lying if I didn't say there was a couple situations I didn't say anything. And
Mm-hmm.
eventually, once I started, I couldn't stop, right? Giving my ideas. Once I was like, I have an idea. And after that, one came after the other. Um, but for a while there, I felt internally unseen. And part of that is me um, telling myself a different story,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
you're so right. Yeah,
Yeah, because it's like what I hear from you is I didn't give myself permission to
right.
step in and be part of what was happening around me until you did.
Mhm.
So
Until I
something
did.
happened at some point. The other thing that I hear too, and I'm curious because I don't know that I've
Mhm.
asked you this offline before we hit record. You have aspirations to be, role wise and contribute and give back greater than what you are now. Okay, I
Mhm.
feel that and hear it. But if
Mhm.
I were to ask you, Tiffany, where do you see yourself in 3 to 5 years?
Right.
Just literally, what's in your brain when I ask that question?
3 to 5 years, I want to similarly do what I do now. Um, make an impact on our seniors. I can see their faces when we're creating processes. I can feel their hugs and know that they deserve it. So
Yeah.
ultimately, it's not for me a title, it's impact. How much more can I be impactful because they really do deserve it. And one day I will be in there.
So, what interesting question. So, if you don't mind, if I
Mhm.
can just ask a little bit more,
Mhm.
um, and you're doing this, so I'm gonna go. Okay, because I wonder when you talk, because impact, from my view, is directly related to level in the organization. So, even that you, though you said
Mm,
it's not about role,
mhm.
um, leadership matters because things will fall and stand up on the shoulders of
Right,
leaders.
right,
So impact is going to directly impact your sphere of influence, span of control. Okay.
right, right,
So, and I know you're not ego based, you're about servant leadership and everything
right,
else.
right.
But if we don't have a clear target,
Mhm.
how likely are we to hit it? Does that make
Mm,
sense?
that makes total sense. Yeah.
So it takes boldness and courage to throw it out there and go, you
Right.
know what? In 3 to 5 years, in order for me to do the impact, the service that I want to do,
Mhm.
this is the level of leadership that I aspire to be. Because if we don't
Right.
clearly articulate that and throw it out, it's been my
Mhm.
experience and that of clients,
Mhm.
we're not likely to hit it
Right,
as soon as we could.
right.
Okay. Because what'll
Mhm.
happen is eventually people will go, Tiffany, so this other role over here opened up. What do you think? And you're like, I really hadn't thought about that. But yeah,
Mm.
versus
Mhm.
you're having a conversation with your one up about
Yeah.
where you want to be, what you aspire to be, and
Mhm.
they're looking out for opportunities for you as well.
Mm. No,
What are your
that's so
thoughts?
good. My thoughts about that are, you're right, it does take boldness. So when you say that, I'm sitting back at that reception desk at the hot seat and I'm raising my hand, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty much what you're telling me is raising your hand the first time is the same as saying what you want, right?
Mm-hmm.
And where you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
So be specific.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
what is that?
yeah. My passion is patient experience. I would
Yeah.
love to be a patient experience officer one day.
Okay.
I think there's some really cool strings you could pull with patient experience. You've got process improvement. You can work with project management. You can work directly with patients and
Mm-hmm.
still talk to them and see their faces
Yeah.
and love on them. That is what like I literally got excited talking about it
I
because
can hear it.
yeah, and it really is something I do now, but I think if you're a patient experience officer, one, you have the impact, you have the influence,
Mm-hmm.
and as well as you have the strategic power to really make change in different areas versus just the
Yeah.
one scope you have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sphere of
Mm-hmm.
influence and span of
Mm-hmm.
control. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, so I like that. And you're
Mhm.
glowing and smiling now
Yeah.
versus I want to be an impact and oh
Yeah.
no, I mean you literally step
Yeah.
into to who you are. And I think that's
Right.
part of it too, right? Is that we're afraid a lot of times there's what I experience is this conflict between I don't want to seem arrogant or I don't want someone to go, who do you think you are to want that?
Mm-hmm.
Who are you
Mm-hmm.
not to want that?
It's so true.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's like
Yeah.
put it down there
Mhm.
and go, you know what? This is what I want to do, and this is why I want to do it.
Right, right. No, you're so right. I remember when I was a receptionist, I had told my mom and my friends, I'm going to be a supervisor here one day. And when I became a supervisor 2 years or 2.5 years later, I
Yeah.
remember a couple of my friends like, we didn't believe you and we didn't know it was going to be that soon. And neither did I. I didn't think it was going to be that soon. But I was bold enough to ask for it before it came. I talked about it. So it's the same muscle that I must use now. So you're
You
totally right.
think?
Thank
You
you. Yeah.
think?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to throw it out there because
Yeah.
otherwise people can't help you. They don't hear about
Right.
it. And what happens
Right.
is it's about relationships and rapport, right?
Right.
So when you have those relationships and rapport and you share with
Mhm.
people that are in that circle of yours,
Yeah.
what happens is that they're going to be listening too for
Right.
opportunities And all of a
Yeah.
sudden your name's going to come up at a table where people are discussing things that
Mm,
had you not thrown that out there, your name wouldn't be in that discussion.
right. Yeah. You're so
So
right.
it's like we have to realize that those aspirations that we have, as long as we give them voice and give them wings and give them roots, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that they start expanding out. And so then we have other people that are acting and talking and mentioning on our behalf.
Right. Right. Yeah. I really appreciate that because the quote I gave is you know better when you do better. So you just gave me something that I should do better. And now I know. And so I will.
I love
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that. There was one
Yeah.
other quote, and there's some nuance to this that we ran across. It's to be
Mhm.
yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment. Ralph
Right.
Waldo Emerson. And that particular one resonated with me in the story that you had, because in the beginning, with who you are naturally and the light that you shine,
Yeah.
not everyone appreciated that light,
Right.
right? And what I heard from you is they wanted to they basically dim it down or mold
Mhm.
you into something that they thought, air quote, you should be.
Mhm.
And it can be hard because all of us humans, as we're growing up, a lot of us hear feedback like that that's counter to who we are naturally and who we, at our very core, who we are, who's our what
Mhm.
our authenticity is.
Mhm.
And so this one for me spoke to what you shared and who you stepped into and who you are now, right? Because
Mhm.
when we can step in and be our authentic selves, and then people look around and they experience us in that authenticity. They're
Mhm.
not looking, going, oh, she's hiding something. I don't trust her. I don't whatever,
Mhm.
because literally you are who you really are.
Right. Yeah.
And I think it's the best gift we can give to people that are around us and to ourselves.
Yes. I had to learn that the hard way, Michelle. Like, the story you're talking about, a leader meant well, but trying to have me protect myself and not be my most genuine, open, loving self and being personable like I would like to. But really, if I listened to that, I don't think I would have any of the opportunities that I've
Hmm.
had. I don't think that I would actually be the light anymore. I think it would have gone out.
Hmm.
And I remember telling myself after hearing the advice of, maybe be less bubbly and maybe be less, some people don't like that. I remember telling myself, don't harden yourself because
Hmm.
somebody else is looking for that light. Someone else
Hmm.
is looking for that. And honestly, someone else is me. I want to see
Hmm.
that light outside too. And so I continue.
Yeah. No, I
Mhm.
freaking love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I appreciate your time. I've loved getting to know you. Our chat
Mhm.
before we hit record and now.
Mhm.
You are a light. You make me freaking smile, and I love
Mhm.
that. So here's my question for you.
Mhm.
Um, I've got a couple, Tiffany. So I'm sorry. It's
Mhm.
one or two things you want people to walk away with, but I'm also curious about if you can weave in what advice you would give other leaders starting their journey who maybe are the receptionist in the front or they're in the back room doing whatever and have
Mhm.
aspirations for something different,
Mhm.
more, bigger impact, whatever drives them. What's
Right.
on your brain about those multi-layered questions that I don't ever recommend anyone give anyone else?
I think the first thing that comes to mind, if you're sitting at a reception desk or you're sitting in your cubicle and you really want to make an impact or you want a different situation or you want to be a leader, you can lead from where you're at,
Mm-hmm.
right? Find those opportunities to raise your hand, even so slightly where it's like, I'll do it. Um, it- Great leaders will sometimes pull on you, but sometimes they won't if they
Mm-hmm.
don't know if you have the interest or it's going to be
Mm-hmm.
too much for you to do. So you can take a situation where, for example, our training wasn't the best. And I raised my hand and asked my supervisor, can I make a process for us to train new receptionists? You don't have to like it. I think it would work. Can I give it to you and see
Mm-hmm.
what you do with it? And it took me a few weeks to do it. And I tried to make it perfect. And one day she just asked me for it. And they ended up using it for many years. I believe they still use that process now. to train a receptionist. So just really those opportunities to go past that first, like, ugh, I don't know if I can do it. Raise your hand, even if you don't do a whole process. That might sound like
Mhm.
a lot, but can I be in that meeting?
Mhm.
Raise your hand. Do you mind if I sit with you while you look at the daily numbers or the metrics that
Mhm.
we're looking at as a team? When you are in those situations, even if you're not adding to it just yet, continue that. And
Mhm.
eventually something will come to you and go, hey, can we do this better? Do you mind if I look at that? Get
Mhm.
uncomfortable and really take that opportunity, even if it's 20 minutes, to go out of the office or out away from your cubicle and work with your manager. That's
Mhm.
my advice.
I love it. I love it.
Mhm. Yeah.
I wrote down lead from where you're at.
Mhm.
The thing is, leadership doesn't require people to report to you.
Mm-mm.
Leadership
Right.
starts with us,
Yeah.
right? And so it's one of those things. And I think part of it too, Tiffany, when you're talking about is if you don't have clarity, right,
Mhm.
on where you want to go or anything like that, like you have
Mhm.
clarity around patient experience, larger impact, this is what I want, it lights you up.
Mhm.
I didn't know what I wanted to do,
Right.
okay, for the bulk of my career,
Right.
right?
Right.
So but I knew that I wanted more.
Mm.
So
Mhm.
even if it's more, fill in the blank, right? More
Mhm.
challenges, more exposure to people, more whatever that may be.
Right.
Throw that out there,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
If you want to be where you're at, is there
Mhm.
an opportunity for you to be better and more in the role that you're currently in? Right? It
Yes.
doesn't mean that you've got to move to something else. But I
No.
think part of it is, and I hear this before, is if we're not learning and growing, we're dying.
Right.
So we're beings that are meant to learn and grow. So you can learn
Mhm.
and grow where you're at and not have to go anywhere else. Or you
Yes.
can learn and grow for more if you don't have that direction in mind. But if
Yes.
you have a thought in mind about where you want to learn and grow to,
Mhm.
be bold enough to let somebody know.
Yes. Yeah. That resonates with me. That's actually one of my quotes for this year is grow in place. Right? You can definitely grow in place. You don't have to leap and move and change roles every 2 years. And you really can grow in the position that you're in, whether it's entry level or mid senior level.
Mhm.
Growing in place, I believe, needs more value because there's a lot you can learn in the place that you're
Mhm.
at. Mhm.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Ah,
Yeah.
it's been fun. Thank you.
Yes, no problem.
Uh,
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I so appreciate you. And this has been Leadership Soundbites. I truly appreciate time in the room with Tiffany. Please like,
Mhm.
share, subscribe. Until next time, and have a freaking awesome day.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.